What a powerful talk from John Maxwell on the power of one more and one more day, which was his follow up talk to Ed Milet's talk of the power of one more. So I know I've got tons of notes, and these notes are probably some of the most impactful that I've ever written down. And Chad, I know you probably got a ton. So let's go ahead and start with you and see what you wrote down and what touched you today.
Man, first I just want to say that it's so cool that John Maxwell is 74, 75 years old is out there still, just sharing his heart and sharing his wisdom with everybody, and written some over 100 books and 6 that have had 1 million copies or more. I mean, the guy is really, really, really good at what he does. And that just reminded me of his story last year, Joel, and I know if people look for it, they probably find it, but everything he learned from his dad. And so the first thing I always think about when I'm thinking of that is, for all of us that have children, is what we want to leave with our children, and that we have to live the things that we want to leave with our children. And so if you're looking for a starting point, I think the 20, however many things John's dad shared with him is a great place to start. There's so many nuggets in there. But today, I think the first one is when he said, don't underestimate today. It's easy to kick the can down the road and say, oh, I'll get to that tomorrow, or I'll get to that next week. And it's funny because now at 48 years old, I'm seeing how each year just goes. It's like you gain momentum in how fast you get old. Remember when you were a kid, you're like, man, will this day ever be over? And then now you're like, where'd the year go? It's Christmas again already. I'm thinking like how fast 2021 has just flown by. And I was watching something the other day, and they said, when your kids were babies, and then before you know it, they're toddlers, and you blink and they're adults, and then you blink and you're a grandparent. It's like, whoa, where'd all the time go? And I think we don't really realize until it's kind of too late that we're wasting time. And so what I get out of that is to not underestimate today and don't waste today, because you'll never get today back. So I think if we can look back at the end of the day and just say, do I feel good about what I accomplished today? Do I feel good about who I connected with today? Do I feel good about how I spent today? Because we'll never get it back. So that's the first one. Number 2, take the high road, treat people better than they do you. When I read this, I always think of the idea that, it's easy to love people who are lovable, but who will love the unlovable? That's the hard part. That's hard. I mean, anybody can like people who like you, right? How can you like the people who don't like you, or who have hurt you, or are mean to you? And I just pictured John's dad just there in that library, just praying for the very people who caused him problems. I was talking to a guy recently, and he said there was some people in his life that literally set out to destroy him, but through unique experiences and through him forgiving him, he was able to pray with one of them on his deathbed. And hopefully it wasn't like, oh, thank goodness he's about to leave this earth, Lord. No, but he said it in a way where he was, glad to be there, and that things had twisted. I think of Joyce Meyer, whose dad, molested her as a child, and then through some crazy forgiveness and set of circumstances, she was able to forgive him to the point where she took care of him when he became an elderly man. So it's never too late to forgive. It's never too late to ask for forgiveness. Couple more here. He said, work past people's dysfunctions, give second chances, travel light. That's a huge one, because bitterness rots the bones. And I was reading something recently about unforgiveness. And there's in the Roman Empire, I guess, I just learned this recently. If you murdered somebody, they would take the dead person and they would attach them to your back. And over time, as that person's body decomposed, it would leak onto you, ultimately killing you because of them being dead. And that's kind of the picture of holding on to unforgiveness. Unforgiveness, bitterness rots the bones. Unforgiveness slowly will destroy you. So you have to forgive people, not for them, but you have to forgive them for yourself. And if you want to know how many times do you forgive the same person, well, the Bible gives us the answer, 77 times 7, which means unlimited, basically. That's a lot. You don't have to trust. It doesn't say that you have to trust people. You have to let them back in where they were before. It just says you have to forgive. You just have to. And travel light. Just let it go, right? Let it go. Anyway, when we look in the mirror, one great exercise to do with your kids sometimes, just take your kid and look in the mirror and just ask them, what do you see, son? What do you see, daughter? Let them tell you, and then tell them what you see in them. Okay. And hopefully what you see is amazing and it's better than where they are right now. And you're calling them up to a higher place. And then sometime when you're alone, just go in there and ask yourself, what do you see? And then ask God what he sees. Because what you see, eventually the goal is that what you see in the mirror will line up with what God sees. And I promise he sees a higher, better version of you. So we've all got a higher, better version inside of us. Every single one of us do than where we are right now. There's hope for positive change in your life. Jim Rohn said, if you will change, then everything will change for you. And I love that because that means we have the power. We don't have to wait for our spouse to change. We don't have to wait for the government to change. We don't have to wait for taxes to go lower. We don't have to wait for this and that and all the other thing. We have to wait till the next season of our life or the kids grow up or all these things. We can change. And if we'll change, Jim says, you're not a tree. You can move anytime that you want to. You're not stuck where you're at, right? I love that. And I think the last thing I just want to say is nothing is impossible with God. And through God and through a relationship with Jesus Christ, you can have complete, total, and absolute forgiveness. I think some of you on here, I just feel like there's people that are going to listen to this and you need to, first of all, forgive yourself. You need to forgive yourself, and you're going to need help to forgive yourself. You're going to need Jesus to forgive yourself, and you're going to need help to forgive other people who have hurt you. There's probably some of you have names right now. You can't even think of the name without getting angry and without just getting all balled up, and you got to let it go. You have to let it go. It will destroy you if you don't. You have to let it go for you. You have to let it go for your spouse. You have to let it go for your children, because when we hold on to toxic things, it leaks onto the people that we love. And I know no one on here wants any of that junk to leak onto your kids, onto your spouse. So let it go. Let it go. Love John Maxwell, Joel. I love this man. He is so real and he is so raw, and he's what our world needs. So thanks, man, for sharing this one.
No, thanks for all those amazing nuggets. I mean, it's amazing when all of us listen to something and the different points that we get from it. Collectively, we probably get some of the major points, but it's the smaller, intricate things that you pick up that are so impactful, Chad. And I'm so glad that you're on here sharing. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was the make today count. So as many of you know, I've spent quite a lot of time with John. And one of the first things that I asked him was, what was one thing that your mentor wanted to pass on to you that he wanted to make sure that you passed on to others? And he said that John Wooden, which was his mentor, said he wanted him to pass on the make today count. And then when I asked John what he wants to pass on, it kind of connected to that, because he wants people to live intentionally and find out what their purpose is sooner, because when you do that, it gives you a greater ability to make today count. When you're just walking around aimlessly, you don't have a purpose, or you're not intentionally living, then you lose a lot of days. Like Chad was saying, all of a sudden you wake up and you're a grandparent, when just 20 years ago, you were out partying, doing things that you probably shouldn't be doing. And it's just a blink of an eye. So if you lose days in there, you can never get those back. But the great thing, like he said, is you can take today and make a new ending. He said, we over exaggerate yesterday, we overestimate tomorrow, but we underestimate today. And that's why we have to make today matter. What lessons are you modeling with your life that your children or the people around you are going to pick up? I posted, I think yesterday or a couple of days ago, that if you work on your character, God will work on your reputation. If you focus on the lessons and the values, everything else around you will change. He said, talking about taking the high road, treating others better than they treat you. That's something really hard, especially if, like Chad was saying, you have a low self-image of yourself. So what you need to do is you need to look at how you can treat and leave people better than when you met them. He said, look beyond people's dysfunctions and give them the benefit of the doubt. We joke about it all the time. This would be the most perfect business in the world if it wasn't for people, because you have an amazing business model, amazing business opportunity, amazing ability to create wealth. And then you add people to it, and people are dysfunctional and people mess things up. So you spend a lot of time being a people developer and a people fixer in your business because of the fact that that's the best way to help people and help grow your business. So make sure that you're giving people grace as well as giving yourself grace. That's where it starts. So if you can start from a place of grace for yourself, you can freely pour it out into others. Like Chad touched on, travel light. Don't let others control your emotions. The whole part about forgiveness, guys, this is such a huge thing, is the people that offended you or the people that hurt you or the people that did damage to you, you're sitting there wallowing in it. You're sitting there focused on it while they're out dancing. It's not because they're dancing for joy because of what they did to you. It's because they're out living their life without even a thought of what they actually did to you. So that's why forgiveness and forgiving fast is such an important thing, because it takes that burden off of you and releases it, because the burden that was placed on you by somebody else, they may not even actually have a clue that they did it. And even if they did, they're not even paying attention to what they did to you. Unforgiveness is the poison of the soul. It doesn't do anything any good for you or the other person. So the faster that you can forgive, the better your life will be. He said, there is a bigger and better me and you inside. And if we can just focus on trying to tap into that person, it will change our lives. It'll change our future. I know that Chad and I have talked about this a lot on other podcasts. It's, making a living. We talk about making a living. Well, when people talk about that, the first thing that they talk about is, well, what's your job? What do you do? No, we have the innate ability as human beings to go out and make a living, make a life. And the problem is that the majority of us don't take the time to sit down and figure out what that life is, what that living is that we want to make. So there's a bigger and better you that you can tap into. And some of it starts with writing down your goals and dreams. Things can change in a moment. One discussion, one connection, one prayer, things can happen and switch in a moment. He said, covet being more and doing more and becoming who you were made to be. Covet is a very strong word because it's something that you want or you desire so much that it aches you, it pains you to not have it. So if there's anything out there that pains you or gives you an ache in your life, it should be meeting the best possible version of yourself and trying to become that person. Oh, I love this. I'm in it for the investment to help you become a better you. Guys, that's why Chad and I do this. That's why, Tay jumps on and helps with this, is because of the fact that we know there's a greater, better version of you out there, and we just want to help you tap into it. He says, don't curse at the darkness. Don't yell at the darkness. Just turn the light switch on, because the moment that the light switch on and the light comes on, darkness flees. So our goal is to help you figure out how to get that switch on as fast as possible. And then finally, he said, God created you for a purpose, and he designed you to make a difference. You can't make us stop loving you. You can't make us stop valuing you. You can't make us stop pouring into you, because we know the potential that is inside of you. Guys, I hope this was a great podcast for you, a great lesson. And make sure that you share this with someone who you think that needs to hear this, as well as the Ed Milet version of it. So go out, make it an amazing week, and we'll see you here again next week. See you guys.